got packets, they need moving. Now, this is one of the best consumer options on the market. It's the Asus RTN 16. The reason I like it is because it's very powerful on the inside, and it also supports DDWRT, which is a really full-featured firmware, a third-party firmware based on Linux. Now, one of the things that's nice about Linux is that you can install it on a whole plethora of devices. I'm going to show you something that's more powerful than consumer. We're going to upgrade to commercial, and we're going to do so with a firmware called pfSense, and that's based on FreeBSD, meaning you can install it on a plethora of devices. This is ALIX. 6 inches squared, embedded AMD CPU. That is a compact flash card right there. So you can install everything you need. You can even get Wi-Fi if you use a Wi-Fi device like the same form factor as a laptop. Put that all in here and have your own little device. We're not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on something a little easier, something you don't even have to spend money on, an old PC. So the first thing to do is find an old PC, and then we're going to put pfSense on it. So let's go find an old PC, shall we? Watch your head, low ceiling. All right, now routers are essentially very slow, very basic computers. If you've got a real computer, you can do a lot more. So go look through all your old computers, because I know most of you have about 40 in the basement. Pick one. I'm going to use this dual-core AMD here. This is an old Dell. Used to have Windows Vista, not anymore. We're putting FreeBSD with pfSense. And if you have an internal hard drive, you can do a lot with it. First off, you can install like a firewall right here, antivirus on your router. And like I said, with that hard drive, you can turn on caching and cache your favorite websites. Okay, now before you go and download pfSense, you're going to want to upgrade your hardware. You know, some of you may have something with 1 or 2 gig ports on the back already. This one has a Broadcom gigabit Ethernet port. If you're going to be running this to a separate router and using that as like a switch, and using that also to send Wi-Fi all over the house, you're not going to need to make any upgrades. I've chosen to add a few things. I'm going to add 1 extra gigabit Ethernet port. I'm just going to pop that in real quick. This is a half-eye case, but I'll bend the bracket down to make sure it fits. Go in there. Yes, you go in. Bend. All right, bending that bracket back. I also have a wireless in card right here, and this is PCI Express. I'll just pop that in, and then we'll be able to have wireless. You can like go on eBay, grab an old server adapter that has like 4 gigabit Ethernet ports on the back, and that'll turn this thing into a really, really crazy router. So I'm just going to throw in the 1 gigabit port, make it 2 in total, and the Wi-Fi. Actually, let's make it 3. I found another one right here. Let's go crazy. PCB boards hitting me in the head. It's now time to download pfSense, so head over to pfSense.org, and right on the top here you'll see downloads. Click on downloads. Now, if you're a little bit confused about all the versions, you can click here and it'll give you a rundown of all the different versions. The latest version, 2.0.1 is what we're using, but you know, if you're watching this in the future, there might be something new. If you're going to be using a CD, you're going to look for an ISO, and if you're going to be using a USB stick, you'll get the arch.img.gz file. It'll unzip though. Okay, click on the mirrors, and there are lots of servers. The one that's closest to me is the one in Chicago. Where's that one at? There it is, Chicago. So go ahead and click on that. And there we go. We're actually using a CD, so we're going to grab, where's the ISO? There's the ISO. And you can get the 64-bit version or the 32-bit version. The i386 is the 32-bit version, and this is the 64-bit version. So if you're only using 4 gigabytes of RAM in your system, you're just fine. Most of you guys are going to be just fine with a 32-bit version, but I'm going to grab the 64-bit version just for the fun of it. And after that's downloaded, go ahead and burn it onto a CD. If you don't know how to burn things onto a CD, then this video is probably a bit over your head. Put the CD in the drive. Let's rock and roll. Okay, now here's the interface that's going to come up. It's going to ask you, which way you want to boot it. You can boot it from a CD, safe mode. We're just going to do the default way. So just press the number corresponding to default way, and then this is going to come up. Here's everything. It's running off the CD. It's just like a live Linux distro. Now, what we want to do next is install pfSense to a hard drive, etc. Just 99. So we're going to put 99 right there and enter an option, and then press enter. Okay, now this is going to start the installation process, and it's going to open up your installer here. So here's the front end. Blam. Okay. Now, just keep everything default unless you know what you're doing. You really, really don't need to be messing with these. Just keep everything default and hit accept. If you guys mess with these and screw anything up, don't come crying to me. All right, next up. We just want to do the quick and easy install. That's what we're going to do. If you want to do a custom install, you know what? Google it. Alright, you push this, it's going to erase everything on the hard disk, including all of your cat pictures. Oh, they're all gone. Forever. So formatting, formatting, formatting. Okay. Now, when we were first installing everything, it detected that we had a dual-core machine. So, we're going to install the kernel for the multi-core processor, or the multi-core kernel. That'll help things speed up quite a bit. Let's reboot. Oh no, the countdown. It's almost over. Into the world. Okay, now we're back in, and pfSense has been installed. There's our default address, 192.168.1.1. Some are 0.1, but that's pretty standard all the way across. Okay, now this device can be hooked up to your network. The next thing you're going to want to do is get on your computer, go open your browser, open whatever browser you prefer, and then type in the IP address that you had set in the configurator here. For me, I'm going to use the 172, but for you, you can use 192.168.1.1 or whatever you changed it to. Type that into the browser, press enter, and then you will be in the pfSense, I guess in the pfSense interface, and you can do whatever you want. I'm going to hand it over to Kane right now because he's a pro at this.
All right, thank you, Logan. We're digging through the pfSense wizard just to go through all the basic setup and get this pfSense box up and running. And click next. All right, first thing we're going to do is give it a host name, and I'm going to give it mine because I'm going to rule this network. And you set up a domain name, which is I'm giving techsyndicate.com because that's what we have here, but for the most part, you will be using whatever your internal network domain is. If you're working for a business, you'd know what that is. Whatever your Windows domain is. Windows domain. Your primary DNS server, I'm just going to use the Google OpenDNS just for generic purposes here. And you want the allowed DNS service to be overwritten by DHCP on WAN, which means if we set the WAN port to DHCP and it is given a DNS address, it will override my settings here. This is the NTP protocol, so this is for setting the clock on the pfSense box. I've set the time zone to ours here. This is going to configure the wide area network information. So we are going to select DHCP because that's what most everyone's going to be using. If you have a static IP handed to you by your ISP, you can flip the static and you'll be able to set up your static IP here. But we're going to use DHCP. We don't need to mess with any of the rest of this. Once we have our type configured, we can scroll down the list here. All of this stuff is pretty much fine to be leaving blank since we're on DHCP. These two blocks I want to talk about briefly. The block RFC 1918 private networks. If you are plugging this into your ISP directly, this should be checked. If you're plugging this into your internal network and it's going to be inside of your private range, private ranges are the 10.xxx or the 172.16 and it's the /12 or the 192.168/16. That's network addresses. These are private IP addresses that normally you never see on the internet. If you do, someone's doing something very bad. This one here, the Bogon networks, are addresses that they're legit public IP addresses, but they have not been assigned by the IANA, and it'd be like basically somebody spoofing an IP address, and that's also very bad, so that blocks those. Alright, next we're going to set up the local area network. Here we've got the LAN IP address of 192.168.1.1, which is very similar to what everybody else uses, and we're just going to use that by default here because it's easier to explain this. Now here it's got subnet mask, and I know a lot of you people are going to be going, wait a minute, what does this 24 mean? In direct reference to what you're used to seeing, which is like 255.255.255.0. And to explain this, I made a little diagram here. Look at that. This is the IP address, this is the binary equivalent, and this is the subnet mask and the binary equivalent. So 255 in these wonderful little octets we got here is 8 ones is 255 numerical value. And you can just count them. So this is 8, 8, and 8, it's 24. And there you go, 24. If you need more than 253 devices on your network, or more than 253 network IP addresses, you need to learn how this stuff works, and I'm not going into it now. Next! Okay, if you can't understand this part, I'm going to reach to the screen and smack you. This is the web GUI password. We'll give it a password. We're going to give this smack you. Really, it's my password. Smack you. Now we're just going to reload this and make everything happy. Yay! We've set up everything. Look at that, was easy. Yay! pfSense is now configured. Please consider donating to the project. Because these guys are broke, and they make this cool stuff for free. So go donate. Here. Here. Click here to continue on to the pfSense web configurator. That's what we're going to do. I've donated other times. Alright, now that we've rebooted, we've come back up to the main dashboard. This is all the stuff that's default configured. Got the WAN. Let's see, we've got a private IP address there. And we've got the LAN, which is the 192.6.8 that we've created. So we're going to go ahead and we have to assign a new interface, which is the Wi-Fi that we added in earlier. I'm going to come down here and add. Loading. And we're going to select our Wi-Fi device, which here is the AT80. I'm going to save. I want to reiterate that we physically installed a Wi-Fi card into this machine. So this would normally not show up until you've added that extra device. Do we know which kind we put in here, Logan?
I don't remember.
Oh yeah, well, find a Wi-Fi card and drop it in there, and this is what it's going to look like. Alright, once we've assigned the interface to opt1, we're going to go over to wireless, and we're going to configure this device as the wireless interface. So here we got the parent device is the AT80, mode, infrastructure, ad hoc or access point. We're going to set up as an access point, and we're just going to give a brief description. This is a Wi-Fi device. And we save. Alright, now that we've got this installed, set up, and configured, we can go up to interfaces, and it's shown up here as opt1. And we enable the interface. Look at all that stuff that shows up. Once we've enabled the interface, we can go in and just change the description. We're going to call this Wi-Fi. And the type, we're actually going to give it a static IP because you want your Wi-Fi device to have a static IP for that branch of your network. Most of this stuff I'm just going to gloss over because it's really great just leaving it on the default settings. Coming down to the static IP configuration, we want to put this on a separate LAN segment as we want to have finer controls over who and what is accessing via our Wi-Fi network. So we're going to put this on the 192.168.2 network, and I'm going to give it an address of 254. As we were talking about before with the net mask, this is the host address. So this is an actual address of the device, so /32 is what you want. This is not the network address, this is the host address. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely.
Cool. Okay, for the common wireless configuration, you want to select the standard for which the device you have installed. So if you have a BG, you're going to put G, or you're going to put NG. If you got an N, most likely you won't have an A, but we've got an NG, so we're putting NG. Coming down to channel, we want to select a channel that is least used in your area. So I would get a program. I've actually got a program on my Android device that is called Wi-Fi Analyzer. It just turns the Wi-Fi on and it scans the area for open, or actually just scans it for any Wi-Fi networks that are available in your vicinity. Gives you a range of which channels are being used heavily or less heavily, and find the one that's most likely going to be free and open and select that. We're going to give it a channel of 9 because I just picked that one out of my head. The antenna settings you can leave at default, but if you want to get into them, it's really a matter of changing which antennas to receive or which ones to transmit. We're just going to leave them as default across the board. Most of the rest of the stuff we can just gloss over. Coming down here to network specific wireless configuration. Our mode, we're going to make this an access point. SSID, it's going to be tech. I'm just making that my SSID. Minimum wireless standard, which means that you want only these types of devices accessing it, so minimum is going to be G. I can also put N, meaning that only N devices can get on our network. We're going to put G, because we have some legacy stuff sitting around here. The rest of this stuff is blah, blah, blah. WEP. It was great back in the day, and then we cracked it. Don't bother using it. Come down here, we're going to use enable WPA. We use a pre-shared key. You just type in whatever random key you want. This is a key. It sucks. I can't type. At WPA mode, I'd use WPA2. Pre-shared key is what I would use unless you know what you're doing with this. Authentication. Open up system authentication is fine. Again, if you are doing this for a business, you're going to know more about this than I'm giving you information on. So go learn all this stuff. Key rotation, blah, 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 blah. Good, 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 good. This is fine, this is fine. None of that stuff's around. Don't click this If you click this on this kind of device, you're going to block your own internal network and the external network, and it would just be bad. But you can block this one and it'll be fine. And we're going to hit save. And don't forget to apply your changes. Alright, now that that's all saved, you can look at the interfaces. You can see that this has changed to Wi-Fi like I wanted it to. And we're going to go here to the dashboard, and it's now shown up on our dashboard. And it shows right now that it is not up and running because there's nothing connected to it, and I haven't done anything with it yet. Okay, right now we've got this to a point where it will work exactly as any wireless router that you can install. But the reason we really want to start using pfSense is the power of what it can do. So to check that out, we're going to go down to this packages under the system menu. Installed packages, we don't have anything installed right now, but available all of these. Alright, got a lot of stuff in this wonderful list of available packages. First and foremost is the Asterisk open source phone PBX. I love it. We'll talk about that another day. Just going down my list here, got a lot of nifty things. ARP ping is nifty. ARP watch, so you can monitor Ethernet IP address pairings, backup, bandwidth, cron, if you actually need to run a bunch of cron tools. What else we got? Go down the list here. Dashboard widget for HAVP. That's kind of nifty because that's the antivirus that's down the list here. Those are dashboard widgets. So when you install the antivirus, you'd install these so you can see them on the dashboard. Free radius, HA proxy. There we go. HAVP antivirus. This is awesome. We're actually going to install this here in a second. We're going to go down the list. IP block list is cool, but it's been replaced by PF blocker. A lot of stuff. You can actually set up routing services. You can actually run some really nice OSPF routing protocols. You got Quagga down here for running RIP and RIP version 2. We got PF block that replaces country block and IP block list. This actually allows you to stop IP addresses from, like, say, China. All those wonderful Chinese hackers trying to get into your network. It prevents them from accessing your network right on the pfSense box. You don't even have to worry or think about that. Snort's a really great package. It's an open source network intrusion prevention and detection system. Basically, it just snorts everything on your network right up into its nose, and it monitors it all in real time. Like here, this is another really awesome application called Snorby that interfaces with Snort and shows you all the cool stuff that it's doing. Anyway, back to the package list. Squid's a high-performance web proxy cache that's really, really awesome. By default, it caches everything, but you can give it a whitelist or a blacklist and say, I don't want it to cache this, or I do want it to cache these specifically, like high file size stuff like, what were we talking about? Windows?
Yeah, Windows.
Windows. If you want to do any Windows updates, it'll download all the Windows updates into the cache, and then anybody else in your network who is doing the updates will get it locally as opposed to having to go all the way back out to the Windows update system, which is great. It saves hours of time, and it saves all of your network bandwidth. If your network is being monitored for how much bandwidth you use, you'd be using less because you'd only download it once. All right, we're gonna go ahead and download the HAVP antivirus. Yes, I want to install this package. Look at that. Ooh, it's so pretty. Installation is complete. All right, first thing we're gonna do is go ahead and start the service. And you click that button. It says start service. Imagine that. Alright, under settings, we're going to go ahead and set the base update time to 24 hours. So it's going to update the AV antivirus every 24 hours, once a day. We're in the United States. We're going to set our mirror to the United States. If you wanted additional mirrors, you can add them here. And we'll go ahead and save this. Alright, now that we've saved our settings, we're going to go to the HTTP proxy tab. Alright, on the HTTP proxy, we're going to enable this. We're going to set this to transparent. We're going to make sure both of our internal interfaces are selected. Set our language to whatever language you want your users to see error messages. And you want to scan max file size. Right about 500K is good. Any of the rest of this stuff would slow everything down. Go ahead and enable our logs, save our settings. Back to the General tab. You can see the antivirus server is running, HTTP antivirus proxy. We'll go ahead and start that up. Okay, so we've got our antivirus started up on the pfSense box, and we're going to try to download a virus. This is the iCard.
Show them where it is, yeah.
This is the iCard.org. This is the anti-malware test file. It's all this really cool stuff. Go there, check it out. It's eicar.org. We're We're going to try to download some test code. And it's going to be slow here for a minute. It's scanning. There it goes. This isn't happening on this machine that I'm running here. This is actually happening on the pfSense box. The scanner is picking it up, and instead of giving you the code that you tried to download, it gives you this web page instead. It says, no, none, not yours. Alright, so this is basically it. We've got this whole set up. It's ready to go. We've got our antivirus installed. I'm just going to give a nice little gander here at our RRD graphs, which show you system uptime, CPU utilization. And we're going to click on traffic. It shows you how much network bandwidth you've been using. And this is by device. So this is my WAN, Wi-Fi, LAN. You can actually set this up by any device. Here we're going to look at Wendell's graphs on his Happy Fun router.
The Happy Fun router does not accept taunts. do not taunt Happy Fun router. Okay, so we've got a bunch of interfaces, a bunch of WAN interfaces, and we're just looking at the first WAN interface. And so, when it's been hooked up for a long time, it can go back for a year and show you, utilization, packet loss, things like that. It'll also show you quality. And so, like, we can pick, it's like, what's the quality on WAN 1? So, or wait, actually, gateway. So this is the quality of the link to the next hop on the gateway. So you can look at this and see when there's been outages and weird things that happen going all the way back, 4 years, which is kind of nice. And also the number of packets. So we've got quite a few interfaces because we've got quite a few things going on in the building. And all traffic flows through here. All the wireless segments, all the LAN segments, all that stuff runs through this. So if I want to look at, the upstairs access point traffic, that's what the upstairs access point traffic looks like. I want to look at the downstairs access point, that's what the downstairs access point traffic looks like. So it's really nice for diagnostics, and it's really nice for, sort of spotting trends on your network traffic.
All right, I think that's about it for now. I mean, there's so much information, and this thing can do so many different things. I mean, there are college education programs dedicated to learning everything that this thing can do. So go enroll in college, learn a bunch of this stuff. It's not enough time to make enough how-to videos to really cover everything that this thing can do.
We can make additional how-to. This is Logan, by the way. We can make additional how-to videos, but there's so much going on here. We want to know what's important to you guys, so let us know. You can post in the forum over at Tech Syndicate. Right on this video, just put a comment about what features you're interested in. We'll make additional how-to videos, but it's all going to be based on what you guys need to know. Anything else, Wendell, about this?
No, you really can't take over the world with one of these things. It's incredibly powerful. There's a huge amount of features here, but you don't have to spend thousands of dollars to get access to it. You can use this right now on an old PC you got laying around and really have a top-shelf router.
So there it is. See you guys next time. Subscribe to our channel. And
if you have any questions, always inbox at techsyndicate.com.
Indeed.